Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rogue Logic. I'd like to talk today about a very important subject, which is friendship. And, I think it means a different thing to many different people. And, it depends on what resonates with you. And the first thing I'd like to say is for me, it's a quote. And, I did have to look up who it was by. It's a quote by Marlene Dietrich, the German-born American actor who she was very popular, I believe, in the silent film industry, as well as right up through the 30s, 40s, 50s, and I believe she passed away in the early 90s. And what she said really hit home for me. It's the friends you can call at 4 a.m. that matter. And that kind of really spells it out for me. And the next thing I wanted to say was that for me, which is very similar to that, I have been in a position more than once in my life where I was stranded in the middle of nowhere. How I got there is not all that important, but I did. And sometimes it was pre-cell phone, so I had to basically find a payphone eventually, or have the guts to go up to some house and not have them think I was there to basically murder everyone in the house or whatever, because let's face it, it's not like even 20 years ago, it's not as easy to really go up to a place you don't know and not be worried that you're going to be seen as a threat. And then even after, when I had a cell phone. But I can guarantee this. When I said that, okay, and not only have I been in that situation, but I've also been there for people in that situation. But I would be willing to bet anything that when I said that, there was either a list or a couple people or a list or even, images of a few people who came directly into your head that moment, and you knew exactly what I meant by those were the people that would be there for you, and you would be there for them, and it didn't matter. You didn't worry that it was 4 a.m. I mean, you're not doing it on purpose, but you knew that they were going to be there for you and bail you out of whatever trouble you were in. To me, that's really what friendship is about, and there's a reason that I'm bringing this up today, and I hope that by the end of the video, it kind of circles itself around and you can see where I was coming from. So what I'd like to go forward with is there were a couple clips that were from Real Time with Bill Mahar that I wanted to replay a little bit, and they were clips by a couple of the panel members, and it kind of has a lot to do with the dire circumstance of where we find ourselves in this really difficult, divisive era of political unrest, and just a lot of really hatefulness and really inability, I think, for people to communicate anymore. So I'm going to play those two clips for you, and then I will get back to my point.
And he leads up to the Civil War chronologically, going through all these facts and everything, but he kind of wraps it all up at the end, just prior to before the war started, concluding that once each side is pointing at the other and calling them evil.
Yep.
Once you get to that point, if you truly believe that, then compromise is off the table.
That's where we are, though.
You have no integrity because how can you make a deal with the devil if you truly believe that?
Right.
And to me, it seems like, damn, it kind of seems like that's where we're headed.
Right.
People are pointing the finger at one another and saying you're evil. And once you
Right.
cross that line, it's hard to walk that one back.
It is. And I think we've crossed it.
Lincoln's insight about that was, and he said this on his trip to Washington, he said it on the Ohio border in Cincinnati. He said, if we were over in Kentucky, we would probably feel as they feel. We are not morally superior. We have a different view of right and wrong. And he insisted not. The Civil War was not a both sides problem. It's like January 6th was not a both sides thing. It was a case where, because of economic and cultural convictions, my native region, our native region, decided that black people were less than human and were not included in the Declaration of Independence. And Lincoln said no. That in fact, and I said it earlier, and I did it with care. The problem with saying this is like the 1850s, this goes to the book you're reading, is how did the decade end? With 750,000 people dying. I grew up on a Civil War battlefield. You live basically on one, right? You're near Carnton, you know that. And there has to be a way for 60% or more of us to say, we're going to mediate our differences and not do battle over them. And I really do believe that number is about right. 34% of the country is always wrong.
In this country, we can't talk about it as if it's a meteorological phenomenon that just happened, right?
Yeah, that's true.
There were certain things that were done by certain people and certain institutions, Trump among them,
Yes.
very consciously to divide this country, to prey upon the fissures that already existed and to make them wider and wider and wider to the point where we can't see each other across them. So it's not just like, oh my, this has happened. This was done in many ways on purpose by Trump.
That's what demagogues
Including,
do. Yes.
yeah. And so when we say it's not personal, it is personal. And I do think people who supported Trump and who enabled Trump do have something to apologize for and do have a lot to repent for. A man who calls countries shithole countries, who tells Congress people of color to go back to where they came from, who calls women pigs, who makes fun of their menstrual cycles. I could go on and on and on. That, you know, and that people still follow him and think that's still okay, and that they, you know, that
Well, most, I mean,
that is something that we have to talk about.
well, you can answer that if you want to, but I would say most of the people I know who voted for Trump say the biggest mistake liberals make is thinking I like him.
It doesn't matter if you still, if
You're
you
nodding.
vote for him.
What
doesn't matter,
what
but
they're
if you
saying
vote
is you
for him,
get
that
two
means-
choices in this country. I would never vote for Donald Trump. Nobody was harder on Donald Trump than me. I have the records to prove it, and I and I have all.
But did you vote
things-
for him?
Of course not.
There
But
you
that
go.
might- but
Well, you didn't vote for
okay,
him.
But
You
it's a little
didn't
more
empower
nuanced
him.
than that. It's a little more nuanced than that. I understand why people who make the decision to vote, which most people do based on not who I like the best, but who I hate the least.
Yep.
Go.
That
There are
means
things
all
that
the
are going
things
on.
he said and
Yes.
has done are not bad enough to keep you from voting for him. Which means you're more okay with him being in power and him having the nuclear codes and him having control of the army
Not
and
me.
the Department of Justice. Not you, the general you.
I am.
That means you're okay with that, or you're more okay with that than the other guy, no matter what he said, no matter what he's done.
Well,
Right?
It's one of the
Subtly.
great.
And all right, everyone, thank you for watching those two clips. As you can see, you know, it's kind of a dire situation when you've gotten to a point when there are people where there are people that there really is no going back. There really is no communication. And there's only one way that ends. And let's face it, as it was well put, it ends in violence and tragedy. And, you know, if you're not talking, you're fighting. So what my whole point here today really is this. I know that I've made my opinions fairly clear in other videos that I've made about what my political views are. And, you know, although I'm not affiliated with any one party, I obviously am a progressive. I really believe in a lot of the ideals of being a progressive. And, you know, I think I do have a point, a valid point, that the far right is become very dangerous because of their affiliation with Christian nationalism. But that aside, here's my real point for today, and this is what I think people need to start getting back to. If you go back to the Civil War and you think about the fact that there were brothers fighting brothers, fathers fighting sons, things of this nature, horrific things that people had happened to them. And for what? For what was it? It was such an awful, awful time, but it had to happen because of some very, very different ideological issues that were obviously not going to be able to be resolved in any other way. And that's why this is so important right now. I have friends, and I want to bring up this one more point before I wrap things up. I have my friend Rui, and I'm just going to mention his name. I think a name's okay. I don't like to put anybody on the spot here, but he has really supported me in my venture here to start out my YouTube channel, and comments on it. And he said a funny thing to me last week. He said, I would have put more comments on there, but I don't think they would have been positive. And, I didn't think about it that much. But then after I thought about it, basically what he was saying was, hey, Chris, I actually disagreed with a lot of the views, because these videos were a little bit of political in nature. But you know what he did? He still supported me, and he still shared it, and he commented on it, and he watched it. And I can say the same for other people that are very close to me, and even a few people who, I just said, hey, could you help me out and just follow me? And and on that subject, because I always forget to do it, if you could, please like, subscribe, share, and comment on my videos, because I really, really would appreciate it, and it does a lot to help me out. So with that, my point being, think about the real friendships and the real relationships that you have that matter. I'll tell you what, I am not going to lose any friendship over political nonsense. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong. I take what is happening in our country right now extremely seriously. I have a view on that is so very, very, I'm very concerned about it. But think of your personal relationships. Is it worth it to the point where you are actually going to possibly to commit violence over a person or persons that you don't even know personally? Now, as much as I do believe that, yes, of course, we all have our political views. You've got to go with one direction, how you feel. And people have very strong views on all of this. But in the end, do I know for sure that the people in the government that I happen to support more of what they think than maybe of someone else, do I know for sure what their motives are? No, I don't. I don't know them. But the people you do know, your friends, your close family that matter, that's what is so important, and that is what keeps the structure of this country together. And, yes, my opinion is that far-right extremism is much more dangerous than far-left, however you want to put it. Being woke and being offended, I don't see that having the kind of effect that has actually taken rights away from half of our country. Over half of the people in this country are women, and they have already lost the right to their bodily autonomy and to their healthcare decisions. So you tell me, is that not dangerous? Because as soon as that happens, they're going to be coming for other people's rights. And you may think that you are part of the select group that isn't going to be affected, but I will tell you this: if you allow that type of fascist type thinking, where we are going to put out our views, our ideas, our beliefs, and not only do we have them, but you must have them, or else. That is where there is no line anymore. So the next thing, after they come after same-sex marriage, and they come after science and, believing in science instead of theocracy, which was never supposed to be part of our constitutional rights. Our rights are very clear. You are able to believe and worship in any way you want, and it doesn't mean that this is a Christian nation. It is not. You can also have no denomination. You can also be an atheist, and all of this is protected. So, to me, that is what is very dangerous, and let's call Christian nationalism exactly what it is. It's Nazism. There is no, easy way to put it. There's no sugarcoating it. That's what it is. So if you want to pretend that it's something else, you can, but you're not fooling anyone. That is exactly what it is. And if you support that, then you are a bigot and you are a racist and whatever else goes with it, because that's what it is. So I'm going to get off that soapbox now. And all I'd like to say is what I always say, and especially it's so important. Be kind to everyone as much as you can, including yourself. And I'll tell you what, that's almost all the time. It's very easy to do. And if you can't, I'll add this more than I don't usually say this, then walk away. If you can't be kind, walk away. You will be better for it. And lastly, of course, please be kind to animals and always, always be there, because we're their voice. We're the ones that speak for them, and they give us so much, and they don't ask anything in return. They give us unconditional love, and they do so much for us that I just can't imagine life without them. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good evening, and peace.